This is Russia, but it used to look like this. It's very big, right? But then, if we go further back in time, it used to be like this. It's so big that even if you combined all of these countries, they would still be smaller than the Russian Empire. But what if we go back in time again? Is Russia going to be bigger? Well, here is what it looks like. I've already shown Russia to you. It's right here. So how did this happen? How did this small area conquer this much land and become the third largest empire in all of human history? Well, to answer that question, we need to go back further in time to when this specific empire existed. So, back in 1200s, this empire wasn't very stable. There's a fight for power and they're divided. But the people that would really make this empire die would come from a very, very far land. And these people want some land for their empire. Introducing the Mongol Empire. After invading Kievan Rus, the people here were slaughtered and others became slaves. The Mongols also looted and destroyed the cities, including Kiev, the capital of this empire. And by the way, you need to remember this tiny town. It will be important soon. So, the Mongols have also been very successful in conquering lands in other parts of the world, until they've become this big. In fact, the Mongol Empire is the second largest empire in all of human history, and it's a little bigger than the Russian Empire. But nothing lasts forever. In 1294, the empire split up because of wars over succession, and in the 14th century, the empire is starting to collapse. And this small, seemingly irrelevant town began to become powerful and rich because of trading fur and stuff. But they did not stop there. They began to expand and conquer neighboring cities. It's also important to note that they still need to give taxes and tributes to the Mongols. So they fought them, and finally, after 240 years, they eventually kicked them out of their territory. Because, you know, they're now really powerful. And in the early 16th century, their territory looked like this. So, this empire gets its money from trade, especially trading furs. If they wanted to become richer, they'd need more furs, and if they needed more furs, they'd need more resources, and if they need more resources, they'd need more land. So when this very, very terrible guy came into power and became the first Tsar of Russia, he and his successors started to expand Russian territories into the land known as Siberia. But you might be asking yourself, how did the Russians invade this land and maintain it as theirs up to this day? Like, are there no revolts or resistance when this land is being invaded? Yes, there is neither resistance nor revolt. Well, if there's resistance, the Russians could probably just crush it. But how? Well, there are three factors as to how the Russians easily invaded and maintained this land for such a long period of time. 1. You might know that this huge land is very cold and kind of inhabitable. So when the Russians came to these areas, they either met no one or only a few people living there. 2. They peacefully negotiate with the locals. Remember that the culture of people living here in Siberia is very different from the culture of people living here in Moscow because, as you know, they're very far away from each other. So how did the Russians convince the people living here? Unlike many other empires, they respected the cultures and beliefs of the people living in their land. That's why there are also few to no revolts against Russia's rule in Siberia. 3. No other strong countries are stopping them from conquering this much land. Well, except for one, the Qing dynasty also wanted to expand in this region, but during the century of humiliation, the Russians successfully get this much land. Russia also manages to conquer Alaska, but sells it to the United States of America 126 years later. The year is 1895, and the Russian Empire right now is very, very big. But nothing lasts forever. During World War I, the empire ended because the economy was very bad, the people don't like the Tsar anymore, and there's a new popular group of people called the Bolsheviks that want to be in power. And after some time, they eventually became successful in taking over, forming a new country called the Soviet Union. But again, nothing lasts forever. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed, and as a result, 15 new countries appeared, including this very huge country we all know as Russia. In conclusion, Russia is huge because they easily gained it. They also managed to maintain it for such a long period of time because they respect other people's cultures, making Russia the biggest country in the world.